Welcome to the Savvy Podcast with me, Helen, and my amazing guests. Every week, we'll be bringing you experienced pet pros and specialist experts covering all aspects of the pet industry. Brought to you by Savvy Pet Spa, the global booking software for pet professionals everywhere. Now let's get this podcast popping. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very new Savvy Podcast, you wonderful professional pet peeps out there. I'm going to introduce you in a second to the most lovely lady. We already did a podcast, but there was technical issues. So we're re-recording today. So I'm actually really happy because I get to speak to her again. But before we start, let me tell you about Savvy. If you don't know about Savvy Pet Spa, Savvy Pet Spa is a global booking software for pet professionals. I used it myself at my own salons before I retired, and my guest has just been telling me that she's been over to Super Zoo and it's been talked about over there. So it's very popular in the US if you're over there and you're worried about using a UK software. But it's a really, really good business tool for anybody that uses, it works with pets professionally, whether that's walking, sitting, grooming, training, whatever that might be. So if you're interested, go do some research. But before you do that, do some other research for me, because my guest today, she's renowned. I love her, and I can't wait to tell you about her. So Jennifer Bishop-Jenkins is amazing. And I'm going to read what I've written, okay? I've written a little bit because there's a lot to unpack here. So, right, those of you who don't know her, rush to your devices now and do some research. Just type in her name, Jennifer Bishop-Jenkins. Honestly, Jennifer Bishop-Jenkins, just type the name in. She is like the best consultant that I know out there. I was speaking to somebody else in the US, and we'll talk about that later on when we're not on camera. And they speak very highly about her as well. So consultant, pet consultant expert, grooming consultant expert. She was a teacher. She's done everything and anything you can think of. She's a certified master groomer. She's had the most busiest career while still working in another career that I have ever known. I think she's like, if Wonder Woman had a base to be, to launch from, she would be that female. Wonder Woman would be Jennifer Bishop-Jenkins. She's amazing. So master groomer, educational grooming book. She's done a fantastic and absolutely is amazing. And we will add this at the end of the podcast for you to see. But there's a poster that Jennifer, and I believe her husband has worked on, that you need to see. But briefly, I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us about her journey. But if I had a jazz band, drums, kazoots, and all the other things to go, no, I would, because she's amazing. I've undersold her. Trust me. She's amazing. Jennifer, please say hi and tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, well, hi, and thank you very much, Helen, and to Savvy and to all of you for what you do. And yes, I did just get back from Super Zoo in Las Vegas. Lots of international groomers there as well. And I did hear several people talking about that they used Savvy for their software systems here. So that was wonderful to see. And thank you for your very kind words. I'm blushing now. So let's.
You juggle so much. Honestly, I don't know.
I've had a diverse life. It's been a sort of an interesting and very diverse life that I've had. But, when you've lived as long as I have, I'm 67 this fall. I just, I look back on it. Yeah, there's been, I've been a lifeguard and a swim coach, and I've been for 28 years, I was a high school history teacher, and I've gotten to own a business, a dog grooming business. But it's interesting. A through line in my whole life from my childhood on has been dogs, and how much I love them and how much they've been a part of my life. I grew up with German Shepherds that my parents had as pets. We also briefly had a Lhasa Apso, and who I took care of. And that's kind of when I fell in love with the hair cutting and the hairstyling. I always liked hair cutting and hairstyling, played with my sister's hair and my hair a lot. And my mother got me one of those Barbies that had the hair that you could do things to. And, so, I've always liked playing with hair, and I loved, playing with styling this Lhasa Apso we had when I was younger. And I, started showing dogs quite accidentally when I was a young first married and a school teacher. I just I wanted to have a German Shepherd of my own, and the only way I was going to get one was to buy from this one litter of puppies that they were show prospects. And so the owner said, I'll sell you this puppy, but only if you agree to show it.
Yep.
And so that's how it all got started. And, I sort of fell in love with dog shows. And as soon as I started going to dog shows and learning about all these other breeds, I just, I ended up with poodles and, Cocker Spaniels and I've owned like, a dozen different breeds. But one of the things as a school teacher, as a person, I have a master's degree in history and master's degree in education. And I'm very interested in the science, the research part of things and, the background and as a historian, I'm very interested in the historical evolution of things. And I have been learning more and more over my adult life about this relationship between humans and dogs and how it goes back in history and how fascinating it is. And I have come to see, the grooming that I had to do as a dog show person that sort of turned into a side gig as a school teacher. You're not paid all that well and you got summers and holidays off. And so I ended up doing, some professional grooming on the side. And pretty soon somebody wants me to teach grooming because I'm also a teacher. And so I became a master groomer at that point. And, it's been a wonderful privilege the grooming has sort of been not only an artistic love for me, but also, this bonding thing that happens between people and dogs that is so special. The caretaking role, the nurturing, the physical and emotional connection. My grooming clients are my buddies. I really love them. And, it's been a joy, like when the world around us is troubling and frustrating and scary. This bond that we have with dogs.
There, isn't there? There's solace in that relationship. Well, we all know now, as time has gone on, that the action of stroking a pet is really, really good. It's holistically beneficial and the chemicals and releases within the pet and within your own body. So, this is why, companion pets are so important. But my biggest issue in grooming, and I know we discussed this briefly when we did our original podcast, which didn't work because of technical issues. It wasn't our fault, by the way, guys. And it definitely wasn't Jennifer's fault. Is that, education has changed and is changing rapidly. And I know you're all about the coat and the coat types. And I agree totally that people don't. And a lot of groomers I know don't know how many coat types there are and how to handle. If you don't know how many there are, how do you know how to handle them? So my question to you is, if you were going to try to guide somebody about discovering about the different coat types and name drop all you want to here, please don't hesitate to, drop in names or anything or any educational, support that you think people will need. But if they wanted to go, I didn't know there were 15 coat types. So where do I go? Where would you point them? Where would you shove them? Say, go here.
That's a great question. There's a lot of different ways you can go. Let me just first address this question of the number of coat types. I'm talking in my list of 15, and it was a process of talking to hundreds of people over several years to try to get, a list of at least terminology that we can agree on. What are we going to call these things so that we can talk to each other? I mean, we can't even get people, at least in America that I've spoken to agree what a double coat is. Some people think that it's anything that has both primary hairs and secondary hairs. And the secondary hairs are those undercoat hairs that shed off easily and they're lesser formed. They don't have a medulla in them and they're very, they're wispy little woolly hairs. And those primary and secondary hairs, if you call anything like that that is a double coat, then that's 95% of all dogs in the world. I mean, it just doesn't give you enough of a differentiation. That means that, some of your sporting group breed dogs are double coats and that your terriers are double coats. So, I mean, you have to really narrow down the definition so that you can understand, at least for groomers. And that's why I say these are 15 grooming coat types. You have to understand that there are grooming differences between them. And that's the biggest problem that I saw as a school teacher coming into grooming kind of sideways through the dog show world. I began to understand that there's like literally not a defined industry. There's no regulation. There's no testing. There's no requirements. There's no consistency of understanding. There's a wide range of, knowledgeable people that have been showing dogs and are very professional at it. And then others, you get a whole ton of people that are just, they learn to groom just from somebody teaching them, and it's just extra money to them. And they don't really know the difference, and they will shave literally anything. They will shave.
Life, yeah.
Yeah.
Wide. There is definitely a divide of those that show, those that educate, and those that physically groom. And then there's the other side of that, where you have the business owners that actually don't know anything about the profession. They just own the business. So there is this, and I think it's global. I don't just think it's, UK, US, and I think it is global. I think there's a global issue with regulation within the industry. And I think that getting that right by using education as your base, because otherwise government officials from wherever and people up there that don't know about our profession will start putting legislative barriers up for us that don't help us, they hinder us. And then they hinder the care of the pet. And that's a worry for me, which is why I think that education is really, really important. So where would you tell them where to go? Because obviously I know we have.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have, I'm going to be writing a 15 coat types book, but again, the focus, and the poster is available. So I've sort of become like a niche expert on coat types because I've just been noisy about it. I just, but there's also really good, there's a very good, for example, in the United States, and I know he travels internationally some too, Dr. Cliff Favor, who's a veterinarian who was a sort of a dermatological specialist in his veterinary practice in Arizona in the United States. And he just was frustrated because there weren't a lot of good products out there for him to use. He found Yves Saint Bernard in Italy. He brought it to the United States. And so he does great veterinary focused classes based on skin and coat differences, and he focuses on the dermatological categories, the three dermatological categories that are defined in medical science, in veterinary science. So there's a great book called Muller and Kirk's Small Animal Dermatology. It's written in English, but it's a very standard veterinary textbook that speaks really, really well to the three major broad categories of dogs that are short, that is hairless and short single coats like boxers and Doberman. And then medium or what they call natural or normal, which is most dogs in the world. And that would be all of your double coats, and including your triple coated primitive coats, your sporting group dogs and your terriers, all of those jacketed breeds and wire coated breeds, all of those that have significant undercoat and so on. And then, your long category, which is your haircut type dogs, where the hair grows and grows and grows until you cut it or it breaks. And so that's one great source is Dr. Cliff Favor and other, anybody else that's a veterinarian that would, be an expert in dermatology. But I also think that, the number of coat types, there are other people that have been talking about, there's genetic information. So you can go to, in the United States, there's a U.S. government website that talks about dog genetics. And I know that Wikipedia has a dog genetics coat genetics focus. There are actually genetically 10 coat types. So technically, when I got into that there's 15 when it comes to some grooming differences, but technically, genetically, there's only 10. And you can actually see it when you break down the DNA molecules. You can actually see which coat types are different genetically. So I would, also recommend people look at, the genetics of dog coat type on sources like Wikipedia too. It's really interesting.
There's a science behind grooming and people often dismiss it. And don't get me wrong. And I say this every time, I groom the way I groom. I do the things I do and I was happy with that. even though I'm retired from the actual physical side of grooming, I am learning so much. I've learned so much just doing these podcasts. It's blown my mind. You know what I mean? It's like, and the determination of people such as yourself, Jennifer, who really want to make a positive difference and make things accessible for those that actually want to further educate and want more knowledge base to be able to provide a better service. And let's face facts, anything that will, I say this all the time, anything that saves you time will save you money. But sometimes you have to use a little time to save yourself money. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
And can I plug one more really great source?
Plug away.
Site?
Plug away.
The person that taught me the most about skin and coat is a woman named Michelle Knowles, and she's also a master groomer. It's Knowles, Michelle Knowles. She is at a website, allthingspaw.com, All Things Paw. And she is the best esthetician that I know of in the world. She actually knows more about, like, if there's a problem. And granted, we're not veterinarians. We groomers, we are not veterinarian, and we should not be practicing veterinary medicine without a license at all. But if there is a skin problem and we can do certain product-based therapies to it, and work in partnership with the owner and their veterinarians, there are some really amazing things you can do. And the absolute best teacher of that in the whole world is Michelle Knowles. Her classes are available online. All Things Paw.
We've got that one in the back.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. But I mean, there is just so much out there. And I think it is through dedication that we're learning more with education, because people that, like myself, when I had my busy business, I had 7 children, I was running it, I was working, I didn't have time to sit and read books. So anybody that could plonk something in front of me and go, oh, this is really, you're like, wow, yeah, I'll read that. It's hard I think the biggest problem for the working groomer is navigating which would be beneficial to their business model. And that's the tough bit. So I think this is why I want to come back to your poster. You call it the poster, but it is absolutely amazing. You really down it when the poster. It is the poster. It's amazing. But what's next for you, though? I know you mentioned your book, and I know we talked on this before, and you've been diddling around with it for a little while. But can we have a timeline on this book, please? Can I have it?
Yes. Yeah, I've had so many people begging me to finish this book, and I have really wanted to, but I was also in the middle of a big retirement and move across the country to move to a whole different place with my husband for our retirement. So semi-retirement. We're not really retired yet.
Never retired.
But we're getting there. And so the book is more than halfway done. I already have a publisher lined up. I just have to finish the manuscript. I would anticipate it's going to be out in early 2025, I hope, if we're lucky. And the 15 Coat Types book is going to be a great resource. It's also going to be, again, as I have been saying all along when I've created this visual poster. And the reason why I created it in a poster form first is, I'm a school teacher. I was a high school history teacher for almost 3 decades. And it is so easy to teach complicated materials to young people, especially if you put it in nice visual arrangement and if you just hand them a piece of paper with all words on it,
it would switch me off straight.
It's a blur to them. But if you put it in a visual arrangement saying this is how this is related to this, and use color, which I did on the poster, it really makes it people start to understand the relationship between the 3 things that the poster covers, and that the list of 15 coat types covers, which is it covers genetic growth. Wow. It covers dermatological needs. That is, what the skin needs.
Well, the skin's an organ in itself. It's
a complex organ. And the skin on a mammal, it's for us too. The skin is it's called the integumentary system. It's a very complicated organ that has glands and multiple functions and purposes. But the skin is, for mammals, the most important organ in our body. It is the largest, most important, and most vital organ in our body, more so than our hearts and our lungs and our livers and kidneys.
If damaged, if there are cuts, grazes, or you've taken a coat off too short, you're allowing that coat to be injured, the skin underneath the coat to be injured, grazes. it's a fundamental part of the immune system. There's a lot.
Yeah.
That's why. But
it provides hydration, and it has, and absolutely the immune system job. Very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that leads me very nicely to my next question. So, I know, and you know that guard hairs, you don't call them guarders over there, but the protective outer layer of hairs on a double coated dog and on many dogs in many different breeds, regardless of the coat, is very important to protect them from UV, and with the issues we're having with ozone layers and, globally, that's a problem. So I know we had this conversation before and you blew my mind with your answer. So I can't wait for you to share this answer again, because I was like, wow, I didn't know about it. So I said to you, my question to you was, when would you shave and when wouldn't you shave? And your answer was, don't shave. You said, you gave me a reason when you could, but it was an extreme reason. But please answer that question for me again.
So basically, first, to answer that listen, it's a really important question. And yes, I have become known as the person just unabashedly begging people not to see grooming as just shaving. Yeah. There are so many people that's all they know. They think that is grooming. And actually, as I say in my favorite social media hashtag, groomers are in the coat care business, not the coat destruction business. Okay.
We are come back from a shave ever. They will not come back from a shave. Some coats, they just don't recover from it.
So basically, there's two kinds of dog hairs. Okay. Two categories. That's the genetic growth that we talked about. There's predetermined length, or what we nickname fur. That is the hairs that grow to a certain length and stop on their body. Think of the hairs on our own arms and legs. Okay. They grow to a certain length and stop. Then there's the hair category. That's again a nickname for undetermined length genetic growth patterns of hair, where the hair will grow and grow and grow until you cut it or it breaks. That's like the hair on our heads, and for men also their beards, right? So it's, there are two different kinds of mammal growth hair that grows to a certain length and stops, and hair that grows and grows until you cut it or it breaks. If you have a haircut dog, like a poodle, a Yorkie, a Shih Tzu, a Bichon, the hair that grows and grows and grows on their body until you cut it or it breaks, you can cut them. You can shave them. It will grow back. It'll be fine. You don't want to cut them too short for dermatological reasons. Dogs have very thin skin. Dogs have very glide on their hair. They are very exposed for skin cancer if you shave them too short. Veterinarians are generally recommending about an inch of hair to leave to protect them from the environment.
It also affects their ability, especially elderly dogs, to regulate their own body.
Yes.
Puppies and elderly dogs, they sometimes aren't able to take themselves off to warmer spots or cooler spots should they need to. And puppies just are ignorant and don't learn that if they take mum and dad too soon. So there's that side of it as well. I think that's important.
Yeah. If a haircut dog that has the hair that grows and grows until you cut it or it breaks on their body, if a haircut dog is matted, shave it. That's fine. Absolutely. But if a fur type dog, a dog that hair grows to a certain length and stops, those are the shedders. Those dogs are not designed by nature to be cut. They are not. They are designed to shed out the undercoat, the secondary hairs, those woolly, lesser formed hairs. They lack a medulla, and they are not strong, fully formed protective hairs. If you take a clipper or a scissor to a fur type dog, anything from a Newfoundland down to a Labrador Retriever, an Australian Shepherd, any of your wire-coated breeds, any of your sporting gun dog type dogs, any of those, if you take a clipper, especially to their torso area, sometimes they have skirts. You can trim those. Those don't tend to be a problem, like a golden retriever or an English setter. Those are okay to cut underneath. But the torso area on those dogs are meant to function naturally to shed out what they don't need and to have those primary hairs stay in place all the time to protect them. And they have a dormancy period and they just don't grow back. So if you do it more than once or twice, if you shave a fur type dog, rather than do what you're supposed to do, which is de-shed it, then you really can permanently damage or destroy the coat. And I especially want to say this, that the great news is if you have a big woolly, Great Pyrenees or Newfoundland that's just so heavily matted from neglected undercoat that you just think, I have to shave it. There's actually a really great, easy trick to get all that undercoat hair out, and that is preconditioning. Some people call this technique close, open, close. But basically you wet them down first and you just slather them in conditioner. Remember that the mats on a fur type dog the undercoat hairs have already released from the hair follicle. They are just sitting in there trapped. And they just need to be loosened and sliced up and blown and brushed out. They can come out. And all of that matted, pelted undercoat can easily be brushed out if you just precondition it, use some mat splitters, use your blow dryer, blow and brush it out. It will all just slide right off. And that way you don't destroy that primary coat, because if you shave those primary hairs off, they just don't grow back correctly and it can forever damage them.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of groomers, and I'll generalize on this, I think a lot of groomers don't offer that service because they are time restricted. And they time restrict themselves because they don't charge accordingly for the service that they
Bingo. You said it. If people would just charge based on their time and also refuse to do something that you know is bad for a dog. Yeah. And look, I get this is touchy. There's some people who work in jobs where they don't have any choice and they don't have a choice to leave that job. And I get that. But if you can, you shouldn't agree to it. You should educate the client lovingly, caringly, compassionately, and work hard to get that dog protected in the process of de-shedding all that undercoat. It's a tough problem in our industry, but I just think if we talk about it more and educate more and take time to talk to our clients and explain it, it's worth it. And that's why I made the poster. Makes it really easy to talk to your clients.
Definitely. And we will share a picture of the poster at the end of this so you can see it, and we'll talk a bit more about the poster in a second. But I think one of the things that for me personally is, and I recommend this when I do my mentoring, is that if you have a client, if you base your grooms on an hourly rate or on a weight of a dog, I used to do weight in my salon, so it would be weight based on a well-groomed, well-maintained, well-behaved dog. So well-groomed, well-maintained by the owner, most importantly, and then well-behaved. If the dog is difficult for a reason, then you charge more. If the dog is, more complex for any other reason, you charge more. But my weight-based price was a full groom is this, it's inclusive of this, but this is on the proviso that this is, this price will be this if it comes in this condition. If it doesn't, then charge more. But don't be afraid. If you want to work with that dog and you've not allowed time because you weren't expecting that to walk through the door, have that conversation with that customer and say, look, this is why. This is why we're going to do this. This is why we try to avoid shaving, but it is going to cost you more money. Because if you shave that dog off and that customer will then expect you to just fix the same problem the next time they come in through the door if you don't charge them accordingly. Most people will walk their dog to your salon or to your van or to your home, wherever, in a matted state because they either have no shame or they're ignorant, one or the other. That's my opinion. So if you walk through the door and you can't embarrass them or plead with the heartstrings to maintain that code in between the grooms and work with you, then you have to hurt their pockets. That's the only way you'll get their attention. That's the way.
Yeah, I think that's really wise. I think you said that really, really well. The problem is that most people, they're going to come in two categories. They really care and they really want to do what's right and they're willing to be educated, or they know what they know and they're too busy to be bothered to try to do anything that might take a little extra effort. Yeah. But those people don't deserve to have dogs. So I'm sorry.
No, it's horrible. It's painful. And unfortunately, because we are pet loving, people, we have these pets and they are, most of them are bought with the best intention, but we're seeing, especially lockdown dogs, we're seeing a lot of rescues coming through because people bought these pets, not realizing the amount of finance that goes into maintaining them, and also the work behind it as well. So
it's like having a child, right? It's a commitment.
It is sad. It is sad. So yeah. So right, my next question for you. Excuse me, I do apologize. So we know that you're going to write this book. We know that's next for you. But what else is next for you? What's next in your career other than the book? Do share.
So I'm the 15 coat types book is definitely, my top priority, especially with holidays coming. I will be able to, have more time at home to do that. And I'm really looking forward to getting it out in the world. I just like to go go in person wherever I can to meet groomers in person and to have this conversation. I learn so much when I travel. So the main thing is I just enjoy traveling and speaking and teaching. I like that we have Zoom and we can do all this online as well. It's the one good thing that came out of COVID for groomers is that we now have online education, and I can do education, all around the world at any time. So it's been great. So I would just say I want to just keep meeting groomers and keep educating as long as possible.
How would anybody that is going to be listening to this or watching this, they want to reach out to you for some, they've got questions, or they want some resources from you, or they want to book into one of your seminars or have a one-to-one Zoom? How would they do that?
So I have a website, groomersguide.com, groomersguide, GROOMERS, guide, GUIDE.com. And I also have a Facebook group called Groomers Guide. People can join, but you can't join unless you fill out the questions. A lot of people just try to join and don't answer the questions. You have to tell me what your relationship to the grooming industry is, where you are, so I can find that you're a real person. And inside the Groomers Guide Facebook group, it's very, very educational. I don't allow any selling of things or contests or hiring jobs, anything like that. It's all education, education, education. So it's a really good group. It's strictly monitored that way. Yeah. So, so my Groomers Guide Facebook page, group, my Facebook group, and, certainly my Groomers Guide website has my, email, my phone contact, everything is all there at groomersguide.com.
And what about if they want to get the poster? Because obviously there's shipping costs involved.
Right. So you can buy the poster in the USA at groomersguide.com. That's for me. But also I have wonderful women. I have these amazing women that I've just been so fortunate. Bonnie Harrison in Australia and New Zealand area. She's our distributor down there. This is to save postage for people. A wonderful woman named Brooke in Switzerland who is distributing through the EU, and amazing Penny Sharp in the UK and in Ireland and Iceland and those areas. So I have 3 wonderful distributors that will help in distributing more locally so that the postage stays down in the shipping costs. So, and we're working on a Spanish language translation, a French language translation, and anybody that wants to translate it into some Asian or African languages, I would be wide open. I would love that.
I struggle with the English language, so that you, that's like,
I have people that are actually kind of empowered to translate it and to try to distribute it. So that's the process we're in right now. And I'm real excited about that. Yeah, you can find out how to reach those 3 distributors in the UK and Ireland and EU and Australia, New Zealand area. You can find those listed on my website at groomersguide.com.
That's fantastic. So you know where to go, guys, because I've seen the poster. You need to have these in your salons because they're a really good educational addition to your salon. They really are. And you can look at comparisons. Just do it. Just have a look. Go and research this because you'll be, I literally have been, I don't have words for what I've learned. Just, looking at what Jennifer's produced.
It shows the relationship, right, between genetics and dermatology and grooming. And it shows it in a real easy way. And it also gives you that sort of very clear definition. It's great for client education, but it's also really good just for yourself as a handy reference guide. Yeah.
And if you're having a conversation with a disgruntled client or a client that doesn't understand, or maybe a client that doesn't work well with reading stuff. I'm a visual person. I like my visual cues. So if you're having that conversation, it's something you're finding they're getting a little bit agitated, it's a really good way to say, look, this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps you train people if you're training new groomers, if you have assistants that you're trying to educate, it's a real great, easy, handy tool. So yeah, thank you for,
or we could just have you in our salons. I mean, that would be equally as good.
I would love to come. I love to travel. My kids are grown. I'm wide open. So
that's a plan. Definitely. That's definitely a plan. We'll have to sort something out because I know we talked about this last time. So we would definitely have to have a seminar or something when you come over. Definitely. And I know your husband wants to come over as well.
Oh, my husband loves to travel with me. So we got to do Australia next. Bonnie Harrison, we're coming to visit you. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've not done Oz yet. My sister lived there. I've done New Zealand, and that was amazing. So Oz is on our.
I want to see New Zealand. You know, it's Middle Earth. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I want to see Middle Earth.
I can recommend you going to Hot Water Beach. That's all I'm going to say. Go to Hot Water Beach, North Island.
Okay, good.
Right, I always ask the same question of everybody. You know this because we did this last time, and I caught you on the hop a little bit. So you have a bit of an advantage for the people that are going to be following you in your footsteps. So if I was going to put you on a desert island all by yourself, and you could take a pet of your choice with a coat type of your choice, what would you choose and why? And also, you can only take one grooming tool and one grooming product. What would you choose and why?
Oh, that is such a hard but great question. I would probably, if I'm on a desert island and I can't, have a lot of grooming tools, I'm probably not going to take a haircut dog, right? Like a poodle, but I do love my poodles so much. I would probably take, a naturally shedding type dog. I currently have Australian Shepherds, and they are just the best dogs. So I'm probably going to take a herding group dog, a pastoral group dog, like a German Shepherd or an Australian Shepherd, which has a natural, easy coat care. And then therefore the only tool that I would need would be, a slicker brush. And I probably would take the Chris Christensen Big G, which I just think is a great brush. Great.
I had the coral when I was in the salon. I had the coral and the black one. And they were my go-to. The Big G and that one, they were my go-to brushes.
Yeah. And for products, I would take, I really need two. You got to have shampoo and conditioner separately. But I do love the Yves Saint Bernard products, and I do love the Dermapure line of super coats. I love those products.
The Dermapure ones are the more natural ones, aren't they?
Very gentle, yes. This was created by Pam Lauritsen, who runs the International Society of Canine Cosmetologists, ISCC. They are an amazing educational organization and one of the oldest. And Pam is devoted to dermatology and getting the science right. And the rule with all products for groomers is gentle, gentle, gentle. You shouldn't be using degreasing products that are designed to just rip all the sebum off of a coat. You don't want to do that. You want to gently apply products. You want products that are pure, hypoallergenic. You don't want a lot. You don't want fragrance. I'm a big anti-fragrance person because dogs have 100,000 times to 1,000,000 times, depending on the breed, 1,000,000 times to 100,000 times more sensitive noses than we do. If you're putting fragrance for groomers' attraction purposes,
strong chemical-based stuff as well, because most of it
terrible for dogs. It's like one veterinarian likened fragrance in dog products to be like dropping an atom bomb on them. And a lot of groomers understand when they've got these the plugins in the salons, to make the salon smell nice. That environmentally, it's not good for this. It's just not. No, very bad. I agree with you.
It's not good. So well, that's that. They were very good answers, I have to say. Very good answers. So I know that your husband had a bit of a input into the poster design. Do you want to tell us about that?
So my husband is a college professor and a writer, too's a published author, award-winning author. He and I both met for a very odd reason. We both had family members murdered, and we met at a murder victims conference. Yes, that is how we met. It's an amazing story. My sister had been shot and killed, and her husband and their baby, and his son was murdered. And we met at a conference, and we're both teachers. We were both educators. We were both speakers, and we're both authors. And he can do this desktop publishing software stuff that is just amazing. Like he actually published his own book, did all the layout on it. He's really, really, and plus he's also a theater professor. He teaches set design and lighting design. So he's very artistic. So he designed my poster's layout, which is great.
There you go. Well, you heard here first. They're a double act. Simple as that. So why did we get that? That's why they've done so well together. Do you know what? I didn't know about your sister and her family, and in my deepest condolences, I can't even imagine. So my prayers for you on that one. So, but thank you for sharing that, because that must have been difficult to discuss. And that's blown me away that you've met.
I think it's important for people to share, things like that, because it really is a huge problem in our world today. We have a violent problem. There's a lot of people that are victimized and traumatized, and I think we need to elevate the importance of that. But the great thing is that you also find community with people who have gone through these things. And we have a wonderful, long, happy marriage, which is great.
Well, that's amazing that out of such a traumatic event, you can find something that's helped you both support yourselves through it and have that unity that's just, it's amazing. That's nice. I like that. It's touched my heart. That has. Oh,
thank you.
Oh, well, I'm going to say thank you very much for sharing with us and caring about the dogs in the world enough to be able to write something and put something together that educationally will support groomers globally. It's amazing. I think you're one of the most special people I've ever met in my life. So thank you.
Thank you. I think dogs, I'm just so grateful for meeting fellow dog lovers, because dogs are really like, talk about, your therapy and your happy place. And, there's just, this is a really good thing for us as a species to have this relationship with these amazing animals.
Yeah, no, it is. Thank you. Jennifer Bishop-Jenkins, thank you very much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much.
Myself and the team hope you've enjoyed the podcast, and if so, leave us that elusive review via your podcast provider. And if you'd like to know more about Savvy and our booking software, visit us online at savvypetspa.com. Thanks for joining. Catch you next time.